But Balan Wonderworld doesn't provide a single good reason for why it restricts itself to just one button, and it prevents many costumes from even being able to jump, the most basic of platforming actions.
Why would you take jump away from the player in a platformer?
They make it so your character can't jump in a platforming game.
A good chunk of them won't let you jump in a platforming game.
This platforming game often takes away your ability to jump.
They can't even jump. You cannot jump in a platformer game.
Like, I can't even jump as the dragon.
You can't jump.
Then you can't jump.
Can't jump in a platformer.
Believe it or not, jumping is probably the most useful thing you can do in a platformer.
Balan Wonderworld, considered by many to be the poster child for worst game of 2021, whether it be because of the baffling gameplay decisions or its lack of explanations.
This big farmer.
Very few people made it past the halfway point of this game, leaving it with mixed to low ratings. The game has you collecting Balan statues to unlock worlds, 8 statues to unlock World 2 and 3, 25 to unlock 4 to 6, 50 for Worlds 7 to 9, 80 for Worlds 10 through 12, and finally 110 as one of 2 requirements to unlock the final boss, making a total of 12 unique worlds to see, or chapters as they should be called. Each chapter is separated into 2 acts, or levels, making a total of 24 acts. Once you've reached the end of both acts from a chapter, you fight a boss based off the themes and costumes of that chapter. Costumes are used as abilities for the player, ranging from shooting fireballs to randomly turning into a box. Defeating all bosses will give you the chance to face off against the big bad called Lance, and finish the game. Kinda, let's just ignore this for the moment. Anyway, in summary, 12 worlds, 24 levels, 12 bosses, 1 final boss, roughly 80 costumes, and with a massive 228 golden statues within the game. But remember, there's only 110 needed for Lance. You've probably seen other challenge videos like no jumping in Mario Odyssey or no running in Five Nights at Freddy's. It gave me the thought, why not give this game a go? But with Balan Wonderworld's control setup, it doesn't give us much to work with. So our question will be, how much of Balan Wonderworld can we complete without jumping? And can we reach the final boss, Lance? Taking a look at our first level, often referred to as the Farmer's World, immediately we find what we call a very small ledge. Even if we were to make it up this demonic fiend, our problems don't end there. You see, there is more than one very small ledge. Kind of like this game is encouraging you to learn how to jump. So here we give up and go to the second act. Maybe there's something in there we can grab to help us. World 1, Act 2 doesn't require us to jump at all, meaning we can grab one of our first costumes of the game, Dainty Dragon, who gives us the ability to shoot fireballs, alongside Pounding Pig, whose ground pound ability only works after you have jumped. Great. From here we can collect our first statue, defeat the mini-boss, and head straight to the end of the level. Hooray! But that didn't really solve any of our problems. Dainty Dragon doesn't help us get up the very small ledge, meaning we can't get to the end of the level to fight the world boss. And we don't have enough statues to unlock the next set of chapters. Luckily we have a, solution. Elastiplant. With this costume, we can reach another statue and get up those pesky, hang on. Was that a jump? Define jump. Push oneself off a surface and into the air by using the muscles in one's legs and feet. So, by definition, this is technically not a jump. Okay, I feel that this is cheating. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels this. Sounds like we're trying to get out of a speeding ticket. No, officer, I wasn't jumping. I was merely retracting my body into the air. It seems diving into this head first without a rule set might not have been the smartest idea, but I was doing this mainly to find a way to break the game. For the time, we're going to put this plant and a few others I found in the grey area box, where we have things like Elastiplant, who retracts its body midair, Telepotter, who teleports, Sneaky Lizard, who teleports to specific objects, Lickshot Lizard, who grapples to objects and is only there as a dynamic between the three, Happy Blaster, who blasts into the air, Ladder Man, who climbs ladders, and Iron Apollo, who blasts off into space, very slowly. If you think anything I mentioned break the rule of jumping, I will leave a poll of the controversial things in the description so you can get mad at me there. We good? Cool. Alright, after we retract our bodies midair to climb up those very small ledges, we can grab another costume, Tornado Wolf, whose abilities only work if you are jumping. We then open the door with Elastiplant and Dainty Dragon to collect 4 statues. The first being in front of us as we walk in the door. The second, we can stand on the edge of this platform and break the block. As for the last 2, we can awkwardly squeeze Elastiplant into some corners and make our way up. Then we make our way to the end of the level and start crying because we can't quite reach the button that opens the door. Discounting Elastiplant's quote-unquote jumps also allows us to grab a Balan Bout in World 1-2. Put simply, a Balan Bout is a quick time event that can reward us with an extra statue if we perfect it. So we are now 1 statue away from unlocking the next set of levels. The other statues in the level are a little too far out of reach. Having used our grey area costume, it's only fitting we give in and use a jump or 2 here, right? Well, let's take a look at which statues are worth jumping for. We have one over a death pit requiring gear prints, a costume we don't find until World 6, another on top of a building structure requiring gear prints again, so both of those are out of the question. If we climb up some webbing out the front of 1-1, we can reach another. But to climb up webs, we need the costume Web Wrangler, who isn't obtainable until World 3. So, again, out of the question. What about those statues that don't need a costume from a later level? In World 1 Act 2, there is one just out of reach underneath a Pounding Pig platform, but we will need to perform a jump, another inside the Farmer's Corn Patch, one on a floating platform blocked by a stone brick, and of course reaching the end of the level will get us to the boss, which needs 2 jumps, one to get to the switch, another to get through the door. Something I forgot to mention was that in every boss fight is 3 statues. These are rewarded by hitting the boss 3 unique ways, or fighting styles, as the game calls it. For the first boss, we can get these by 1. Hitting it after avoiding a tornado, a second hit after it attempts to fall on top of you, and the third, we hit a pillar into the ground using Pounding Pig's Ground Pound, meaning it's possible for us to get 2 out of the 3 statues. As far as I can tell, it seems to be 1 jump for 1 statue, so there's no clear winner. Luckily for us, we have a few more tricks up our sleeve. Okay, this is going to take a lot of explaining, so it's best to put our thinking caps on. The basics. This is a jump. We press any button to perform a jump. Groundbreaking, I know. Some characters have an ability after they jump. Let's take Pounding Pig and Jumping Jack as examples. After Pounding Pig does a jump, we can press any button again to perform a ground pound. 2 presses. Now Jumping Jack also has an ability after it jumps. Press button to jump, and press and hold again to use its flutter ability. 2 presses. But what Jumping Jack can also do is press and hold the button once to do both the jump and its ability. Since there are around 80 costumes in the game with mostly differing abilities, this gives us many opportunities to, well, let's just say, make jumping big gaps a whole lot easier. Now, I want to avoid using these if I can, because I feel as if this ruins all this fun we are having. For now, jumps with abilities are banned, but if we can find a way to use the abilities without jumping, I think that's fair game. There is also a second kind of jump we want to avoid, called coyote jumping. Basically, coyote jumping is a reference to old cartoons like Wile E. Coyote, and how he would stay in mid-air before realizing anything was wrong. This can be applied to games by how long you perform an action after you've fallen off a ledge. Balan Wonderworld has infinite coyote time, meaning we can fall off the tallest building and still jump before we hit the ground. I'd say we're gonna ban this, just thought it was worth mentioning first. Are you still with me? Good. Going back to our statue problem, what if I told you we could grab the pounding pig statue without jumping? Watch this. Now, you're probably wondering, Pounding Pig does this weird glitch jump animation, then makes it across? How? After all, I do use my ability without jumping. But to answer that, we first need to talk about parallel universal, half button presses and animation cancelling. If you need a more detailed explanation, check out these videos, but I'm gonna try my best here. First off, half button presses. There are 3 states to a button press: the initial press, the hold, and the release. The jump is part of the initial press, while the ability is usually part of the hold and release phase. Getting rid of the initial press and its jump will give us a half button press, and will not count towards our jump counter because there will be no jump, and will go straight to its ability phase. So how do we get rid of that initial jump and press? With a thing called animation cancelling. Animation cancelling is where we start up an animation and do something to prevent it, usually by pushing another button, which will bring us back to our original state. But Balan Wonderworld only uses one button, I hear you cry, until you remember that we can change costumes. With this extra button, we have 2 different types of animation cancelling we can execute. We'll call one pose cancelling and the other jump cancelling. First, pose cancelling, because that is the easiest to perform and explain. After we switch costumes, we can press and hold our ability button to stop our character from doing a little ta-da pose. If we keep the button held down and walk off a ledge, this will, somehow, let us use an ability without a jump. But this only works with some of the costumes, and as you might have guessed, none of the Chapter 1 costumes can use it. That leads us to jump cancelling, the complicated one. Alright, if you have 2 of the same costumes, you can interrupt the jump animation by swapping between the duplicate of that costume. Jump, jump with a quick press. Jump cancel. This can bug out a few of the costumes, as well as costumes like Jumping Jack use its ability by walking off the edge, which only works about half the time. But if we go into our settings and change our frame rate from 60 to 30, it'll make jump cancelling a lot easier to perform. Sadly, this only works on the PC version of Balan Wonderworld. If you own the console version, there isn't even an option. Since I'm recording this on the PlayStation 5, it took me a few attempts, but I'm able to grab that pounding pig statue mentioned earlier. Now, you might also be thinking, doesn't jump cancelling imply that you've already, jumped? Well, this can be just proven with another costume called Lucky Egg. You see, if Lucky Egg jumps or falls from a great height, it will shatter upon impact. So go ahead, Lucky Egg, show us all if a jump cancel works. Oh good, you did it. You had us all on the edge of our seats there. Still paying attention, audience? Great, because the train ain't stopping here. For you see, since we have earned 1 more statue, our total is now 8, meaning a train will start flying around unlocking the next set of worlds for us, as most trains do, giving us a new goal to collect 25 statues. We'll head off to World 3. It is helpful but not essential for us to go to World 3 Act 2 first, because of the costumes we can pick up there. Activating a switch will reveal a path. We get our costumes Sickle Slinger and Dusk Butterfly alongside 2 easy statues. Sickle Slinger will be extremely helpful for collecting statues and hitting switches that are far away. Dusk Butterfly will not be useful just yet, but let's keep it in mind. Sadly, we can't progress any further due to a big gap only Dusk Butterfly can jump and fly over. But with an extremely well-timed Sickle Slayer throw, we can collect another statue. We will now head to World 2 Act 2. Here we can grab Telepotter, Dynamic Dolphin, a costume that can swim, and collect our 12th statue. Swim our way up to the next platform where we find our next problem. A small jump into this water bubble. Using this bubble can allow us to gather many more statues to reach the end of the level. To avoid this jump, we will swim up to this higher platform, use Telepotter to get through some coral, make it to the ledge above the water bubble so that we can fall onto it. Altogether grants us 2 easy statues, 1 well-timed statue using Elastiplant, a Balan bout reward, and the end of the level, bringing us up to a total of 16 statues with another act complete. Keeping up with the water theme, we'll look into World 2 Act 1. In this, we can hit a switch to go up to a higher platform and collect 1 statue. That's it. We get a little stuck at this point. It's possible for us to hit another switch with Sickle Slinger and bounce off an enemy to reach the water tube. Did I forget to mention there were enemies in this game? I've been ignoring them anyway. Once we get up there, there is really nothing we can do. Statues are too high for us to reach, and there's a gap we need Bubble Blower to cross. Oh, right, Bubble Blower. Look, if I fail to mention any costume or anything else, you can probably guess it isn't worth talking about. TLDR, we're stuck once again and only added 1 statue to our count. Heading back to the Bug World, World 3 Act 1, we can do a majority of the level with Elastiplant. Get a statue above a mushroom, and 1 from a dark room with the help of Lovely Lantern. Climb up some webs with Web Wrangler. Oh, by the way, if you climb to the top of a web, you automatically jump off. I'm not going to count it, but I'll add it to our grey area list. Collecting another statue on some books, reaching a Balan bout reward with Telepotter, and make it to the end, adding 4 statues to our total. So to unlock Worlds 4 to 6, we need 25 statues, and we're all out of new stages. Here is where we start re-entering previous levels. Back in Act 2 of the Farmer's World, with Sickle Slinger, we can easily grab 2 statues that we couldn't before, making our total 23. Ooh, we're getting closer. So we use a jump here, right? Not quite. If we go to the end of 3-1 again, we can use the end as a checkpoint, and by doing a well-timed teleport, fall down on top of a switch that will spawn our 24th statue. Why not do it earlier? If you miss the well-timed jump, you fall all the way down to the start of the level. And frankly, for my own sanity, I'd prefer not to do the full level walk of shame multiple times, so checkpoint at the end it is. As for our 25th, we will do another trick using the co-op mechanic, climbing up a web with the first player, while the second player will use Elastiplant to get on top of this moving platform. I will avoid using the co-op mechanic in the future, but it seems to be the only way for reaching enough statues. Since we now have 25 statues, we can board the Polar Express, unlocking Worlds 4, 5, 6 for us, this time needing a total of 50 statues to progress further. 4-1, the Wind/Invention chapter. Right at the start we can grab Soaring Sheep. Now it is possible to pose cancel our way across, but instead I want to show off Dusk Butterfly here. The butterfly has strange properties when reacting to wind or air currents. With it we can do a little trick appropriately called Dusk Yeet. Walking into this wind tunnel here can send us flying into the air, The camera seems to glitch out a little, but it is very much worth being able to float to basically any platform. With this, we are able to grab a statue above a fan, inside the mountain, and everybody's favourite costume, the lovable Box Fox. With Box Fox, we can defeat some metallic enemies to spawn our 28th statue. Go ahead, Box Fox, go grab your reward. I won't reach the end just yet. Instead, I will head back into Chapter 3, Act 2, where we can finally make it across that big gap mentioned earlier, using a specific costume setup: Soaring Sheep, Elastiplant, and Blue Launcher. We will pose cancel from the beginning of the stage down to the lower platform. Hitting the nighttime switch will lower a platform, allowing us to be lifted up to our next problem, this door. The door can only be opened by hitting a switch over a floating platform, but none of our current costumes are able to reach the switch or make it over there. Luckily, we can stand on top of the nighttime switches, and with a well-timed Elastiplant... And on our first attempt... there we are. Elastiplant can climb onto one of the switches where we are able to change costumes to Blue Launcher. Blue Launcher is a costume you can get by inputting a specific code at the title screen, or by completing the demo that no longer exists. I'm putting this in the grey area box, but I didn't know until after recording that other costumes could reach the switch. From here we can grab another statue, fight the mini-boss, take a mirror to an arena with a bunch of enemies. Once they are all defeated, we will be rewarded another golden Balan statue. After that, we face off against Boss 3, a weird spider-like creature hanging from the ceiling. We can easily grab all three fighting styles using Sickle Slinger. One from hitting the pillars, another when it's in the purple retaliation phase, and lastly we strike one of the balls she spits out to launch back at her. Once defeated, we are going to change our costumes to make sure we have Telepotter on our team. Doing this will help us reach the end of Chapter 4 Act 2 a lot quicker and easier. When we teleport through this gate, we can grab a statue, fall onto this whale, and reach the end, earning us one statue. Okay, that might have been a little quick. Let me explain just what happened. So, the end portal is on top of a flying whale. Normally, to reach this whale, we have to make it all the way to the end of the map, to a high enough vantage point for us to fall on top of it. Sadly, we get stuck close to the end. These platforms are a little too high for our jumpless protagonist to reach, and any vantage points require a jump to get up to, meaning we can't float to the vantage point and we can't make it through this level without a jump, at least from what I can tell. Luckily, the whale has a scripted path. Once we first enter the level, the whale will pass underneath us, but only for a moment before disappearing into the sky, only to return later circling around that end point. In short, there are two spots we can fall on top of the whale, the one at the start and the vantage point at the end. If we want to fight the boss and finish the game, our best option is to fall on top of it as soon as possible, forcing us to quickly grab what we can and finish the level, earning us one statue. Now that we've earned our thumbs up, saying that we've beaten their level, we are able to re-enter and grab the statues that we missed before. Telepotter can make its way over the moving platforms and through the fences, another 2 added to our total. There was also another one that I didn't realise you'd get until later. Over to the forest in Chapter 5-2, we can immediately pick up 2 important costumes, Lickshot Lizard and Hothead, just by playing through the game casually until we come across our next obstacle. This door will not open unless we light the torch next to it, and as you've probably guessed, we need a jump to light the torch. Solving this, we will lure an enemy close to the edge so we can bounce off the top of its head and open the path forward. Climbing the stairs with Elastiplant, we can walk into this rope with Hothead. Burning it will lower the bridge to one of the worst problems of this challenge. In this room are 3 torches, all requiring a hothead jump to light them. Getting them isn't too bad, lighting them is a different story. While the enemies in the room were easier to bounce off due to them being on the ground, the ones in this room are all flying/floating enemies, and will quite often unpredictably charge at you. If you get damaged by any of these enemies, you will lose a costume. A loss of a costume isn't too bad. Basically, your costume acts as your health in the game. Lose all costumes and you won't have any to use, unless you go back and grab another. Is this room possible to do? I don't know. That's a problem for future me to solve. Instead of leaving empty-handed, I shoot down these metal-type enemies and grab our 37th statue, then immediately backtrack a little to fall on top of our 38th. Having collected Lickshot Lizard, we can now enter 5-1 to climb our way up, avoiding some seesaw platforms. We can once again play this level rather casually, grabbing 3 statues along the way. Defeat the mini-boss, fall down behind the end of the level to grab a 4th easy statue with Lickshot. Finishing the level gives us 42 out of our 50 statues needed. Only 8 statues away and 1 newly unlocked world left. Let's see if we can grab enough statues to move on. Chapter 6, Act 1, the tower level. We can grab our first costume, Gear Prince. Hey, I remember you. Open the door to get inside the tower and climb it without jumping. You know, with all those seesaws and spinning cogs to push you off. Using Gear Prince, we can reveal a staircase. Teleport from a seesaw up to the platform here. Fall down on top of a statue, usually collected by Pounding Pig. Make our way up to the platform before, and begin the torture. It is possible for us to get on top of this tower using Elastiplant. By getting onto the cog here, we can make our way up to the next platform where we... By getting onto the cog here... You know what? How about we just leave him to it, while we find some other things to do and collect. Okay, good luck. We'll be back really soon. Just keep trying. Entering 6-2 with Plant can help us get up some bookcases. Most of the level is done fairly casually. Grabbing a Pumpkin Puncher costume, we can earn a few statues by running into these 2 steel boxes with Box Fox, one from a small platform inside. And finally, just before the end, we can animation cancel to float down behind this tower to earn our 47th statue. Having now acquired Gear Prince, we can once again return to 1-1 mentioned earlier. And also 4-1 has another gearbox, where we can create a staircase for both and grab those. Oh, by the way, how are you doing with your climb? Not there yet? Alright, don't worry. Don't give up. Believe in the me that believes in you. Alright, in Chapter 2, Act 2, we can pose cancel and float down to the pirate ship using Soaring Sheep, giving us our needed 50 statues to unlock Chapters 7 to 9. For Chapter 10, 11, 12, 80 is needed to unlock them. We'll start off with 7-2. Grabbing Floaty Flower, climb up these mushrooms with Elastiplant, use either an animation cancel or another trick. If we fall on top of any mushroom, then we use our action button, it will automatically go to the ability phase of our costume, in this case, floating. Using Air Cat, a costume that we could easily grab from World 6-2, we can animation cancel our way around parts of the map and activate switches for a door for the next part of the level. We collect 2 statues before going into the doorway, and another 2 statues before defeating the mini-boss and finishing the level. On to 7.1 now. Using Elastiplant alongside animation cancels from AirCat, a lot of this game is now a cinch. 2 statues out in the open, 1 inside a steel box, thank you Box Fox, and finally out on this flower lies a statue. It might look a little far, but as it turns out there is an invisible platform for us to walk along. Looking at walkthroughs, I don't think a single person knew these were here, so the more you know. Turning around, we hit the end. What the hell happened to my Tims? Are their eyes floating from out of their body? Is this what stage warping does to you? Oh, my poor little beans. Moving on, you get the idea. Grab a statue and a level, boss time 59. When the boss hits the ground, it'll send us flying into the air, much like how the mushrooms worked from before. That will let us float over for 1 fighting style. Then we can ram into the bullets and queen chess piece using tackling bull, earning us all 3 fighting styles, making our total 62. Cooling down a little, we move on to 8.1, the Ice World. We skate our way around using the plant and telepotter to make our way past many of the obstacles. 4 out of the 6 statues from this level are really easy to grab, and aren't worth mentioning on how we collect them. Only things worth noting in this level are the 1 statue behind some floating spikes, the disappearing platforms, and a big leap leading to the mini-boss at the end. These spikes are a cinch once you learn how to abuse iframes in this game, or invincibility frames. Basically, once you switch costumes, you have a few seconds of invincibility, meaning if you're wanting to avoid taking damage, you can just constantly spin in place to tough out any situation. The disappearing platforms are easily surpassed with plant and telepotter. As for the big gap, we can animation cancel across with the newly acquired costume Frost Fairy, one of the most broken costumes in the game. Or if we want to avoid half pressing, we can use Tackling Bull's speed on the ice to make it over. Yes! Using Dainty Dragon, we fight the mini-boss, longingly stare at the only statue that we aren't able to grab from this level, and head to the finish. With 67 now under our belt, we make another tired Frozen joke going into Act 2. Turning around is a free statue. Down the slide, we get Hardy Hammer to open up some blocks, retract our bodies mid-air up to another statue, use costume switching iframes to grab another 2, and sacrifice Frost Giant for 1 extra. 5 statues, finish Act 2, and onto the boss. Boss 8. Spin to win using iframes, then smash it with a hammer. Shoot your balls of ice into its weak points and the icicles. 3 fighting styles, 3 statues. We're nearly at 80 statues, and we haven't even looked at World 9, Act 1. Plant climbs some stairs to open the door. Hardy Hammer smashes some blocks with its hammer. Walking off this rotating platform with an easily timed teleport gives us 1 statue. Using Rail Runner, we can walk onto the rails and not press a single button because we can somehow make it to the end without doing a thing. Not gonna lie, I have no idea how I managed this statue. We then come across our next problem. The door switch is too high for us to reach, and is over a small pit. What do? Turns out the enemies tries to steal it by lowering it to the ground, doing all the work for us. You know, when people said you need to jump in a platformer, I thought it'd be a little bit more challenging than this. Where are the challenges? Sickle Slinger can reach out to grab this statue that's far away. Finishing off with a Rail Runner section that once again doesn't require a single button press. Ending the level gives us 78 total statues. Onto Act 2 of this carnival world, we are stopped by these stairs that would every so often turn into an unwalkable slide. If we use some well-timed plant hops, we can easily make it up. Purple Goo, iframe, statue. Death Traps, iframe, statue. Spinning a room plant, exit the level because I have enough statues and for no other reason. Our total is now 80. We now need 110 statues, as well as a way to reach and defeat all the bosses. You know, how about we spice some things up? We'll go to a random level. Let's say 11-2. Here we grab the costume Water Blaster, defeat a bunch of enemies to open the door, iframe through a deadly lava section, and collect Ladder Man, a costume that can reach high places by climbing a ladder, making him one of the best costumes in the game. Sure, he might hop off the top of it, but he's climbing, not jumping. Watch him easily climb this wall. Watch him take out all of these enemies in a single swoop. Watch him reflect these fireballs. Oh. Watch him defeat the mini-boss and collect 2 statues on the way out. On to 11-1, where we have to walk on some lava to grab a statue. Piece of cake for our friend Ladderman and his iframe pals. Next we need to grab the costume Bulldozer and push a block? Yeah, no, I don't think so. We have Ladderman. Walk through fire? No issue for Ladderman. Now's not the time to celebrate. Ladderman is on the hunt for more statues. Have you ever been troubled by a very small ledge? Just call Ladderman. Have you ever wanted to get into the farmer's corn patch? Ladderman. Why even spawn a ladder when you can just become the ladder? Take that, you flower thing. Another block puzzle? Here is Ladderman to save the day and finish this level once and for all. Now for an epic showdown between Ladderman and Boss 11, the Hydrant. It seems Ladderman has weakened the boss off screen. And now he's letting Water Blaster take the final hit in all the glory. What an absolute Chad this man of ladders is. That's all 3 statues and fighting styles. And we take a deep breath. Okay, now, where were we? Ah yes, at 10-1. A world based off the painting Relativity by MC Escher, where we use Inky Blaster to hit some paintings and open doors. But what's the point of a door when you have Ladderman who can just walk through them? Defying all laws of physics just to reach the end of his ladder! Where am I? It seems I blacked out there for a moment. So what have we done? All world 10, and the boss. It looks like we just collected some things along the way. Just to catch you up, World 10 was designed around characters who can't jump, and look, I'm just going to be serious. These chapters are really hard and or boring to talk about. Walk up some stairs, collect a statue. Walk up some more stairs, collect another statue. It's a world that looks very cool, but has very little going for it from a minimum jumps perspective. As for World 12, it's not too far off being the same. Maybe you'd think, ooh, 12-2 has tons of moving obstacles that'd make it hard. But you're able to just walk and spin around all of these. I know critics have often said, you can't jump in a platforming game, but I reiterate this fact, a lot of the game doesn't even require you to jump. Sure, it's annoying to have to switch costumes to be able to jump, granted they can actually do that, but to me it's a mild inconvenience at worst, and seems to be blown way out of proportion. For all the times I've seen this can't jump argument, people will spend minutes complaining on how Dainty Dragon
can't jump,
forgetting that the level you get the costume from doesn't even require you to jump. I agree that the game has made a lot of questionable choices, but it just annoys me to see how much I've seen this argument be turned into a huge hit piece on the game. Rant over. With that out of the way, let's talk about the actual difficult parts of the game. Reaching the final boss. Our first requirement, collecting 110 statues, is very easily done with all our tricks and ladders. From here on out, I'm not going to talk about the statues, seeing as we can basically do whatever we want. Instead, we need to talk about the second requirement, how we get to the end of the levels and defeat the bosses. For the bosses, all we need is a single fighting style hit 3 times to be considered defeated. The World 10 boss has us using Inky Blaster, a costume that doesn't jump but throws long-range projectiles, meaning the boss was very much designed around beating it without jumping. The World 12 boss is exactly the same, but instead of Inky Blaster, we use a vacuum cleaner. Going back through the levels, for 1-1 and 2-1, the door switch and the bubble blower jump, we have Ladder Man. This goes without saying. Onto boss 2, we can hit it from a distance with Inky Blaster. 2 fighting styles, piece of cake. After I reach the end of 4-1, we go to the aeroplane boss, which on paper sounds tricky. We are only able to hit one of its fighting styles, being the reflect the bullets type of hit. Honestly, this is just a big waiting game, more tedious than actually difficult. The 5-1 torches are... I suppose we could use Ladder Man? No? Maybe if we angle it like a... Oh, silly me, of course it works. Reaching the end, we defeat the boss with grapples from Lickshot Lizard and reflect tornadoes with Happy Blaster. Both grey area costumes, but both safe for now. We head on to World 6 too. Oh no, I completely forgot. Hey, it looks like you made it up the tower. Good job. I have a funny story. You see, I found this ladder and... good idea. We can test the ladder from down there. We skip the moving blocks puzzle with Ladder Man once again. Fight boss 6, Perella the cat clock duck thing. Use a lot of iframes to avoid its attacks. Earn some easy statues. Finish off 9-2 like we were supposed to. Face off against the World 9 boss and earn 2 statues there. Missing the fighting style where we ground pound from the opposite end of the arena. And we're there. Lance. Now for the epic showdown between Lance and Ladderman. Ladderman, why can you not hit Lance? Ugh. Luckily, I brought Inky here as well. Hitting him 3 times gets us onto the second phase, where we purposely died to skip Lance having to do it. And onto the final phase of the fight, which is a mashup of previous costumes, one from each chapter. Round 1, we use Aircat or Butterfly to walk into one of the glowing eyes. Round 2, we blast water into another glowing eye. And for the third hit, we can stand still with Dolphin and swim into the air, only to fall on top of the glowing eye. As for the third hit, we throw a paintball with Inky Blaster, leading us to Lance's final attack. Using iframes, we can spin to win this section, then walk up the head tentacles to our final hit, leaving us with over 110 statues and no jumps. Wait, no jumps? Oh, that can't be right. Minus the half, carry the 0. No jumps. Huh. I'm aware we used a lot of grey area tactics, but did we just beat Balan Wonderworld without jumping? I suppose that's up for you to decide. A lot of it can be easily done without animation cancelling or use of grey area costumes. The trickiest thing I found was the statue count around the first 3 levels of the game. So, we did it! We have proven that Balan Wonderworld can be beaten without a single jump. Yay! What am I doing with my life? A big shout out to Wowinim for the help routing in statues, figuring out pose cancelling, and proofreading a lot of the video. Hope you enjoyed. It took me about 3 or 4 playthroughs of the game just to make sure it all worked. There are still many things missing, but feel free to test it with your own rules. If you'd like to see more Balan content, check out Kyrone's video on how the speedrunners and I cut out a big section of the speedrun. Thank you for watching.